And the thing is I'd rather be safe than sorry. Even though it's like it's okay right now, it's not overheating. Customer states the coolant was cool. He's been driving it, and while he was driving, it was overheating. He cut the heat on, the temperature dropped. That's a clear indication that the thermostat's worn out. Water pump issues, when you drive, there will be no flow, even at idle, where the efficiency is less. It will still overheat. This car has it has implications of like a thermostat being bad. But again, I mean, if I would rather feel better safe than sorry, just putting the thermostat in here, knowing that everything else is sealed up and the fans are operating. I'm not going to put a water pump on here because that would be the last thing you would want to assume. Like, oh yeah, let's put a water pump on it. No, thermostat is cheap. That's what regulates the temperature. We'll just put a thermostat on it. What is it? Gosh. Oh, really? Got the thermostat out, the housing's off. There's an O-ring that goes in here to the water inlet for the bottom radiator hose. Now that O-ring can be changed, but it wasn't leaking, so I'll put it back. 310mm bolts around the outer housing. Do have a motor rad thermostat from O'Reilly's, and here's the factory one, which is at 82 degrees Celsius, which equates to 180 degrees Fahrenheit. This is a 180, so God, I can't think straight. What's supposed to happen sometimes? What happens sometimes when a thermostat goes bad? especially like a factory one, since they have that ring around it, they'll get stuck, and sometimes the spring that's supposed to retract in becomes defective. So after thousands of heat cycles, but you can, I mean, it's a huge weight difference. This factory thermostat is like double the weight of this aftermarket one here. So I'm going to get this installed in reverse order. Meth head, man, that dude, man, that motherfucker. I don't know. I don't know. Who? So up to the left here is the hose I was talking about, the O-ring that sits inside of the thermostat housing. I mean, as long as it's not recessed inside the grooves there and it protrudes, I mean, you should be fine putting it back in there. But I can understand why a person would potentially change it to this circumstance. In this situation, the circumstance doesn't warrant this O-ring to be changed. So I wound up taking the VVT sensor loose, disconnecting it, but I didn't want to take a chance on damaging the harness or the connector, so I did disconnect it there. Take some brake cleaner. Shit. This hose back. So when I installed thermostat, there's a air bleeder screw here, sits out of here. I mean, this needs to sit straight up, so it needs to sit up 90 degrees. So when you do fill it up, that little valve here will allow air to pass through, so it'll can get to the back of it to where it'll heat the block up, and at least it'll cause it to open up. So you don't want it facing down, because then you're not going to be able to get the air out. So you need to be able to get the fluid on the opposite side of the thermostat here, so the block can heat up the water. So that's some universal green full strength. All right, I got 10 miles driven. I'm gonna say about 5 to 10 miles. That loop that I normally make is about a little bit over 5 miles or so. But the fans are, everything's working properly. The coolant circulating properly, and temperature, let me show you. All right, so the temperature is still stuck at 194. I have driven with the AC on. Let me see this. 135712. So I have driven with the AC on for a while, and because the condenser on it's pretty hot outside. It's like 85 or so. The condenser gets really hot, and normally, like if there's some issues with cars trying to maintain normal operating temperature, if the AC's on, the condenser's hot, the ambient air temperature's hot, the car's likely to run hot. So I try to put as much heat as I can through it, and everything seemed working fine. So maybe we see it's dropping down to 192. So it stayed, I want to say, around 10 degrees cooler, putting the thermostat in there. There's not a lot of, there's no pressure in the cooling system. But I would love to put a radiator in here, because this can definitely be a hell of a lot better, especially while driving.